It's 1780, and the American Revolutionary War is in full swing. The Continental Army, led by George Washington, has already suffered its fair share of defeats, but they're determined to keep fighting for independence from Britain. Among them stands Benedict Arnold, a talented and brave officer who had already proven himself in key battles like Ticonderoga and Saratoga. However, things are about to take a dark turn. Arnold, once hailed as a hero, becomes infamous in history for his betrayal that would change the course of the war. Despite his earlier achievements, Arnold feels slighted by the Continental Congress and Washington's leadership. His wounds, both physical and emotional, fester, and he begins to feel unappreciated. His resentment grows, and with it, a dangerous temptation to turn his back on the cause he once fought for. In 1780, Arnold secretly contacts the British, offering to surrender the fortress at West Point in exchange for money and a commission in the British Army. For Arnold, this would mean a comfortable life under British rule. But for America, it would mean the loss of a key stronghold that could have tipped the balance in favor of the British. The plot is discovered just in time. Arnold's co-conspirator, Major John Andre, is caught with incriminating papers, leading to Arnold's exposure. Arnold's betrayal is revealed, but by the time the Continental Army realizes what's happened, he's already fled to the British lines, where he's treated as a hero by the enemy. The impact of his actions is devastating. Hundreds of soldiers lost their lives, and the trust between Washington and his officers was forever shattered. Arnold's name would go down in history as a symbol of treason, and his betrayal still resonates in American culture today. His motives remain a subject of debate. Was it greed, pride, or a combination of both? What's certain is that Arnold's betrayal wasn't just the act of a single man. It was the moment that reminded America that even its most trusted heroes could fall prey to the temptations of power and wealth. Benedict Arnold, the name that once stood for courage and loyalty, would forever be synonymous with treason. It's 1940, and the world is plunged into the chaos of World War II. Nazi Germany, led by Adolf Hitler, is sweeping through Europe, conquering country after country with terrifying speed. Norway, with its strategic importance, falls victim to this relentless advance. But what makes Norway's occupation particularly sinister isn't just the German troops. It's the man who collaborates with them, Vidkun Quisling. Quisling, a former army officer and politician, had long been sympathetic to Nazi ideology, even before the war. His ambition to see Norway align with Germany led him down a treacherous path. On April 9, 1940, as Nazi forces launched their invasion of Norway, Quisling took drastic action. In the midst of the chaos, he seized the moment, declaring himself the head of a pro-German puppet government. He believed that aligning with Hitler's regime would bring Norway under German control, and he saw himself as the leader of a new order in the country. But the Norwegian people didn't share his vision. Quisling's actions were seen as an outrageous betrayal, not just against his own country, but against everything the Norwegian people stood for. His attempt to take control was quickly rejected by the Norwegian government, which fled to exile in Britain. However, Hitler saw an opportunity and backed Quisling's government, making him the official leader of occupied Norway, a puppet ruler under direct Nazi control. Quisling's collaboration with the Nazis made him a hated figure in Norway and beyond. He enforced harsh Nazi policies, including the persecution of Jews and the repression of the Norwegian resistance. His actions led to the suffering of countless civilians, and his betrayal would leave a scar on Norway's history. After the war, Quisling was arrested, tried for treason, and sentenced to death. He was executed in 1945, but his name has lived on as a symbol of betrayal and collaboration with the enemy. The term Quisling became synonymous with traitor in many languages, a lasting reminder of one man's decision to sell out his country in exchange for power. Vidkun Quisling's collaboration in WWII serves as one of Europe's most notorious examples of treason during the war. In the midst of the Cold War, a group of young, brilliant men were quietly betraying their country. The Cambridge Five, as they became known, were British spies who secretly worked for the Soviet Union, leaking vital intelligence to the enemy during and after World War II. It's a tale of deception, intellectual allure, and national betrayal. The five spies were recruited while studying at Cambridge University, a prestigious institution. At the time, Britain was fighting Nazi Germany, and the Soviet Union was an ally. But the Cambridge Five, driven by a mixture of idealism and personal ambition, turned their backs on their own country and passed secrets to Stalin's regime. They believed they were helping to create a better world by supporting communism. The most famous of the group was Kim Philby, an intelligent and charming man who rose through the ranks of British intelligence. Philby became one of the most influential spies in the British government, all while feeding information to Moscow. Alongside him were Guy Burgess, Donald Maclean, Anthony Blunt, and John Cairncross, all of whom infiltrated Britain's intelligence services, providing Soviet Russia with critical information. Their betrayal went unnoticed for years. The Cold War was intensifying, and Soviet espionage within the West grew increasingly sophisticated. It wasn't until the late 1950s that Philby defected to the Soviet Union, and the full extent of the damage became known. The Cambridge Five undermined British efforts, costing countless lives and jeopardizing national security during the early years of the Cold War. The story of the Cambridge Five highlights the incredible risks of espionage and the dangers of loyalty being exploited. Their actions forever changed the landscape of intelligence warfare during the Cold War, leaving a legacy of distrust that still lingers today. In 1940, as Nazi forces swept through France, the country faced a fateful decision. With Paris falling to Hitler, the French government signed an armistice, agreeing to collaborate with the Nazis. The result was the creation of the Vichy Government, a puppet regime led by Marshal Philippe Pétain. This collaboration would forever stain France's history. Pétain, once hailed as a war hero for his role in World War I, became the leader of the Vichy regime after France's collapse. He pledged loyalty to Nazi Germany, offering the French territory in exchange for limited autonomy. But the Vichy government's real power was in the hands of Nazi officials who controlled much of France, leaving the people to suffer under the shadow of occupation. The collaboration didn't stop there. The Vichy regime actively assisted in persecuting Jews, handing over thousands of French Jews to the Nazis for deportation to concentration camps. The Vichy forces even helped the Germans track down and arrest resistance fighters, making it a cooperative effort in oppression. While some French people resisted, many were either complicit or silent, reluctant to fight against the reality they were living in. The Vichy government stood as a symbol of cowardice and betrayal, tarnishing France's legacy in the war. As the war dragged on, the Allied forces liberated France in 1944, and the Vichy regime collapsed. Pétain was arrested and tried for treason, but his actions, and those of the Vichy leaders, would forever stain the country's reputation. The betrayal of France under the Vichy government remains a somber reminder of the fragility of national honor and the devastating consequences of collaboration. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you learned something, make sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, and subscribe to see more videos like this.